Visibility and security, the two most critical issues in supply chains today. To talk about it, I'm joined by Luis DaCosta. He is Director of Global Logistics with Microsoft. Hello, Luis.
Hi, Bob. How are you?
Thank you very much for being with me.
Thanks for having me.
And I'm joined by Barry Conlon. He is CEO of Overhaul. Hello, Barry.
Bob, good to see you again.
Let me ask you first, Luis, just to talk about what are your big concerns in the world of security and visibility today at Microsoft?
Well, Bob, security remains, I think, on the stage for us when, we bring any products to the road. And what we have seen is an increased risk anywhere, actually. We saw examples of what happened in the US, examples of what's happening in Europe. So it remains top, front and center for us on how we're securing the products.
Mm-hmm. And it's an international problem, is it not? It's multimodal, it's everywhere. There's
no
really specific part where you think it's particularly vital. It's just the whole picture overall.
Whole picture, yeah.
Barry, why do you think that is the case, that security is becoming more of an issue these days?
Well, I think supply chain's on everybody's mind these days. It's used to be the kind of sleepy side of everybody's kind of world, but now it's the talk at the table, at the dinner table, about we can't get baby formula, there's shelves that are empty. Mm-hmm. The bad guys watch this too, and they understand supply and demand just as well as any logistics professional, and the targeting of vulnerable product is a very, very lucrative endeavor for globally, and every part of the world, where supply chains are constrained. It also means supply chains are slowing down in some cases. And when freight's at rest, it's at risk. So that's why we're seeing an explosion of attacks against supply chains. So supply chain integrity, using visibility is you're getting, more bang for your buck based on the fact that you can actually know where stuff is, but actually know what condition it's in and how secure it is.
Yeah, again, it's an international problem, all modes and the like, but are there any particular kind of so-called black holes where visibility is a particular problem? Where do you see that occurring?
Yeah, typically when you look at the global environment, and my colleague here, Luis, is a Brazilian, and he would know very well that Brazil is considered one of the more challenging environments from a supply chain integrity standpoint. Yeah. But so is parts of Europe. Mexico would be another example. These are locations where supply chain integrity is taken as a foregone conclusion. It's part of the process. Mm-hmm. But now we're seeing it creep into other places like the EU, where supply chain integrity was seen as a secondary thing, but now the criminals are shifting their focus to areas where there's more vulnerability, and that's just about everywhere the freight gathers, such as ports, warehousing, truck stops, places like that, where they know they can have easy, readily access to cargo and strike.
Mm-hmm. And Microsoft, of course, Luis, you are an international company. You manufacture and source from all over the world. Yes. Any particular parts of the world of particular concern? As Barry is telling me now, Europe has now come into the picture. How do you see the global picture in terms of security?
Yeah, very, very similar. I think we have experienced problems in Europe, especially Central Europe. But we have also seen problems in the US, mm-hmm. like what we saw happening in the West Coast with rail transportation. Mm-hmm. It expanded into other parts of the country as well, like in Memphis area. So risk is everywhere. I think Barry said, a product at rest is definitely an issue. And what we do with the visibility, I think it's important to note that not only having the visibility, but what do we do with that? So if I know an area that there is a risk, there's perhaps a planning that we can do to avoid that area or avoid that transportation route or avoid certain things that can call the attention of thieves.
Yeah, good point, because everybody talks about the need for supply chain visibility as if that were the end game. Right. Well, now I can see everything. Yes. But what am I going to do now that I can see everything? Yeah. Now, we've talked before about the Microsoft Overhaul relationship, how it began. But bring us up to date a little bit, Luis. What was the original concern that Microsoft had? What kind of made it think about going to Overhaul to help it with its security issues?
Yeah, so the relationship is growing, not only with the device supply chain, but other areas of the company, including Azure in taking advantage of our ecosystem as a company.
Barry, how do you see this relationship evolving from its origin?
Yeah, it's been, I think, about 5 months since we last spoke about this, and it's really developed very well. So we see the Microsoft opportunity and the partnership in two ways. One is they're one of our most important customers, and they use our services, and that's what really brought us to the attention of their leadership group to say, hey, we've also got lots of companies that rely on Microsoft for, as Louis said, the Azure ecosystem comes with a very, feature rich around apps and services that you can offer from a CRM all the way to kind of a Teams engagement with their video technology. So we're seeing in the same slot, we can help our customers when they come to us and say, look, we need supply chain visibility, but we need integrity. A lot of companies, particularly in the global set today, are not just worried about someone taking something out, but if you're Microsoft, you're also worried about someone putting something in. And integrity is a two-way street. You don't necessarily just concern yourself about theft or shrinkage. You're also worried about, is my tech secure? Is there any nefarious influence going on with that? That's a really important aspect of integrity. And these guys are ahead of the game, as they always are, when they're bringing these solutions to the customers that are coming to them and saying, look, we need help.
Now, as you know, Barry, the whole world of security is a constant game of catch up, and
it's an arms race with the bad guy.
That's right. The bad guys are always trying to get ahead, and the good guys are always trying to get ahead of the bad guys. I'm just wondering if you could kind of give me a look forward picture. How do you think, what is going to be required in the future? What might additional kinds of capabilities do you think we need in order to cement this security?
Well, to give you an example, it's a great question, Bob, because everybody's been talking about supply chain digitization, big data as it relates to supply chain for, 10 years? Not a lot of people are talking about law enforcement digitization and how do we engage the outside agencies that we only want to call when we need them. And when you're talking about this global environment and you're talking about a different set of police response protocols from 4 different agencies in Mexico, digitizing that engagement is something that we've been working on with our technology set for the last 2 or 3 years. We're about to announce a partnership that will give us a global response formally. Microsoft is a key founding member. So it's a standards body as it relates to integrity of supply chain. So we're doing what we're calling a public-private partnership. It'll be our technology linking law enforcement globally in 172 countries, which is the Microsofts of the world, apparel companies, technology companies, people that care about supply chain integrity. So it'll be a digital transfer of information when law enforcement is really needed and quickly. And that means they have all the information they would need directly delivered to a smartphone. That means they can recover the product. And that's one of the reasons why we've been successful in recoveries. In the last Microsoft example we had, where Luis mentioned the US being a threat area, which was not always the case. It was about 30 minutes before we got the full truckload back. Exactly. It was still running. The engine was still running when law enforcement got there. So that's enabling the professionals to do their job in a more effective way.
Yeah. How do you see the future at Microsoft in terms of your future needs for security, Luis?
You continue to evolve. I think, we talked about integrity. That is an important thing for us when we think, the supply chain is diversifying, right? We're bringing products from all over the world. And when we think about that an opportunity exists for a risk, that is how we want to make sure that we're partnering with, Overhaul and other partners of ours also to secure our supply chain, secure the information, and also be able to do something with that data, which is the differentiator that we see in our relationship with Overhaul.
Thanks so much, Luis, for sitting with us today. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Barry.
My pleasure.
Luis DaCosta of Microsoft, Barry Conlon of Overhaul have joined us for a conversation about visibility and security. Thank you very much for watching.